Alrighty, welcome back. Session 5. In the previous session, we talked a little bit about the plan from a value standpoint. What do you like? What does your child like? Now we're going to put this into behavioral action. We're going to be writing some of these things out. So we're going to create a step-by-step framework associated with this. 1, pick what you know your child likes. Is it within their values? What do they prefer? What could be reinforcing? What type of values do they hold here? Laying out the rules and how they can earn the potential thing or what happens in those situations. These are the framework that you're operating under. When you say, first we do this, then we do that, what does that look like and how was your child included in that decision? Allocate who is going to implement that plan and where. Is it just you doing this? Is it you and another parent or caregiver? Is it someone in their life? Is it the school teacher? Who? Involve all of the people that you need to in order to carry this plan out for maximum success so that your child feels comfortable and safe and trustworthy or feels trusting of others in the environments that they're going to be in. And finally, note whether the plan is working and change if needed. We're actually going to take data. We don't just say, oh, I think it's feeling better. It feels like it's moving in the right direction. Go with what's actually happening. Take the data on it. All right, so P, pick what your child likes. Use the preferences survey from their previous sessions and narrow it down. Use the values that you found your child in. What do they like? Why do they like it? And go from there. So 1, identify the top 1 to 3 things your child likes the most. Rate them from least to most preferred and rate how well you can or should withhold each item until the desired behavior happens. Right, so 1 hard to withhold, 5 easing. What I mean by this is, are you able to do this? We don't want you doing something that you're not totally able to do now, right? Or something that you can't practice easily. Because if you contact something that's going to be incredibly difficult for you over time, that's not going to benefit you in the future. It's not going to benefit your child in the future. So just be mindful about the types of things that you're trying to do here. And remember, just because they like an object or something or activity, person, whatever, doesn't mean that they will change their behavior for it, right? So what type of access does your child have to that? Is it okay that they have that level of access, and how do you work through that next? Laying out the rules. So differential reinforcement, meaning in some cases you do something more or less, or sometimes or not at all, right? So reinforcing behaviors you want, ignoring or redirecting behaviors you don't. So if your child's screaming to get the thing that they want, you are either redirecting back to how they communicate. You say, you know what, we don't get those things when we scream. How about you use your device or a gesture or something else, whatever you decided what that behavior is. Do this, then you can get the thing. Right? And again, you as the parent, as the caregiver, have to really focus on how are you setting up that environment where the child feels safe enough to respond to that, right? Are they feeling comfortable? Do they understand what the criteria is? Like, do they understand what you're asking them? And is what you're asking them reasonable? Sometimes we set our goals too high for the kids, and we have to be really careful with that. So when your child does the right thing or does the comfortable thing, they get the reward, right? They get the reinforcer. When they don't do the thing, they don't get it. And then you redirect. And again, this redirection is important, right? You want to ensure that they know what the rule is and to practice that, right? So let's say they get a handful of snacks at the end of finishing all their dinner. You know, if you had to help them with the dinner a lot and you're like, you know what, I wanted you to do this on your own. Instead of getting a whole handful of this, you can get a little bit more if I help you, or you can get a little bit less if I help you, right? You can grade how much someone gets something or not gets something. But the goal is that the adaptive behaviors that the person feels more comfortable with, they're doing more of, so the reward is higher versus things where they need additional assistance. So reinforce the good. Child uses words instead of screaming. Great job using your words. Here's the thing. Redirect the rest. Child screams. Don't give the reward. Redirect to what they can do instead. But in this particular instance, if your child is screaming, they might be distressed. What else is going on in that situation? Are you doing something where they feel unsafe? Are they doing something where they feel unsafe? How do you know they want that object? Do they have the ability to say those words? Do they know what that item is? Sometimes you just have to remind your child what those components are. One thing to keep note of, though, is this thing called an extinction burst. So when a behavior that used to work, so used to be reinforced, suddenly stops working, meaning it doesn't get the reinforcement anymore, the behavior tends to get worse before it gets better, right? So think of it like a light switch. If it stops working, do you just accept it? No, many times you flip it harder and you go up and down, up and down, up and down. And if the light still doesn't turn on, it eventually goes away. But normally you don't flick a light switch like that, right? When it doesn't work at first, you try it a bunch of different ways before you give up on that. Behavior works very similarly to that with other situations as well. So if you say before, and I use headbanging as an example because I've worked with children in the past where headbanging was a way to communicate that their head hurt, right? Or for one particular child, then they used headbanging as the only way of communicating what they like and don't like. So we have to be careful with that because something like headbanging can be very aggressive for the individual. So if you take away the thing that they wanted originally and they're not sure what the new rules are, you have to be careful with that, but just make sure that your child's safe. So this is just to illustrate before it's operating at one level. After you take the thing away, they're going to keep trying. And then after a while, when they realize that they're not going to get the item and you're teaching them the other behavior they're supposed to be using or learning or more adaptive, maybe a safer behavior for them that still serves the same function of getting what they want, this headbanging behavior eventually goes down, right? The thing to think about, though, is if you reinforce here at the top, you have set the new level of where the behavior would go. So just be mindful of that as you work through. So when the burst happens, and it will get harder before it gets easier in many, many cases, here's what to do. Stay consistent. Giving in one time can reset all the progress. Be with your child in those moments. It's not hard getting what you want, right? It's hard not getting what you want. Show support. That stinks, right? New things are there and it can be really difficult. Show your child that you're there with them, trying to learn with them. Redirect what they can do. Give small praise for choosing the alternative as much as possible. And again, if your child is hurting themselves, always prioritize safety first. So regardless of what your particular rule is, if they're really injuring themselves, make sure that they're safe. Make sure that you're safe before you do something else, and then adjust the plan as needed. If there was a situation where the person hurt themselves because of the plan you implemented, try not to have that happen again. Adjust it. Maybe make the goal a little bit smaller, the expectation a little bit more easy to follow. And what I would say is learning's not going to happen right away. I usually say give it about 10 days to 2 weeks. If nothing improves, analyze and adjust the goal. That's not failure, it's data, right? Because if you've had a lifetime of doing a behavior a particular way and then it changes, it's going to take a while to learn the new thing and have it overwrite the old ways. Consistency, though, really is your greatest tool. If the plan doesn't work, it's not failure. It's more information that you can use. Next is allocate the plan. So who's going to run this? Where will it start? So where are you going to put this in? Pick one environment first. Maybe you're doing this at home. Maybe you're doing this at school. Test out that plan, fine tune it to understand what is the most successful scenario where your child is engaging in the behavior that's keeping them less distressed because they feel communicative and trusting of the people that are there, and then trying it everywhere afterwards. It's called generalization. So how do you get the situation to be safe enough that the child does the behavior? What are those factors that happened with that? And then how are you going to expand it to other places? Then you look at who implements it, list every person that needs to be a part of this plan and talk with them, show them what is the expectation here, right? They need to be willing, able, and trained on the steps that they need to do in order to work with your child and create that environment everywhere, right? As much as possible, people should be consistent with whatever this rule is. Now, sometimes there's going to be variability in that, and that happens. We have to accept a little bit of variability. But as long as you're supporting your child and you're checking in, seeing what works, adjusting when it doesn't work, it'll be okay. And then finally, tracking fidelity. Are people actually following the plan correctly? Are you watching them, seeing if they're doing the thing that you all agreed that you were going to do, and so on? What does that actually look like for you? So if the accuracy drops below 80%, review the steps or pick someone else to start off with it. Sometimes we place a lot of expectation on different school staff or other family members, and that can be really difficult, especially if they don't feel confident doing the thing. So make sure everybody's on the same page as much as possible, answer all questions, and realize that it's not going to be perfect at first. As long as you're working towards that ultimate goal, you should be fine. And then finally, note whether it's working. We are tracking data, folks, right? Using those ABC sheets that you have, maybe tracking how many times a behavior occurs during that particular day, both the ones you want to see and the new adaptive replacement behavior too. Check in every 2 weeks. Is it working? If it's getting worse, you need to adjust. If your child is getting hurt, absolutely adjust that right away. And again, adjust, don't abandon. Just because it's not working the way you thought it would work doesn't mean it won't work at all. You just have to maybe pull it back and break it down into an even tinier step so that everybody can contact that win. So your homework this week is start running the plan at home. Pick one environment. Take notes and data on that. Expect that there might be an extinction burst when you're carrying that out. Stay consistent as possible and bring your notes to the next session so we can review this together. Again, you have a plan. Now trust the process. It won't be perfect. That's okay. Every adjustment is progress.